Welcome to this week's edition of the Pete Mezzetti Show. I'm your host, Pete Mezzetti. My guest this evening is Joe Comerford, who's the Executive Director of Ninetown Transit and Middletown Area Transit. Joe, welcome. How are you?
Doing well.
Good to see you. It's been a while.
Yeah, good to see you, Pete.
What's new?
A lot. Yeah, a whole lot.
Well, where do you want to start?
Yeah, let's start with a quick explanation of who we are. Estuary Transit District is the official name of the Ninetown Transit system. And we have 9-member towns all here on the shoreline and all the way up as far as Chester. Okay. And then we also serve some other towns a little further up north, like Haddam, East Haddam, and Durham. We do a total of about 700,000 miles a year of service, about 40,000 hours, and about 100,000 passenger trips every year on all of our services. And we have a few different types of service. Sure. One's a fixed route service, which is kind of what you're used to in a city, where we have routes that run on schedules and on regular routes. Most of them start and end at the Old Saybrook train station, where you can transfer between routes. And they go places like, locally they go from Old Saybrook to Madison, Old Saybrook to Chester. But then we also have some more regional routes that go as far as New London and Middletown, and we also have service from Madison up to Middletown. So we go up to Middletown from both sides of our region. Oh, nice. And then those offer connections to those services in those areas, like all the service throughout New Orleans, London, Norwich, Middletown, service up to Hartford, New Haven. So a lot of connecting services as well. Absolutely. So you can get really far on the fixed routes.
Absolutely. Then
we also do a door-to-door service. It's a dollar ride, we call it, and that goes anywhere within the 12 towns that we do cover. And it goes right to your door and the door of where you're going, and that just is booked at least a day in advance, but you can call us up to 2 weeks in advance to book that. And that is open to anybody. It's not limited to seniors and people with disabilities, even though it does serve a lot of seniors and people with disabilities. Anybody can use it. And then in addition to that, we do have a service just for people with disabilities that runs just along Route 1 corridor. And that's called our ADA paratransit. And that's also door-to-door and by reservation, at least a day in advance. And that, again, goes within that Route 1 corridor, but even could go as far as places like Guilford and Brantford. And in addition to all those we've had for a while. What's newer is what we call our extra mile service, and that is a on-demand, it's known as micro-transit service. It's also a door-to-door service, but what's different about that and unique is that it's truly on-demand, and that you book it when you want it. So there's no booking ahead of time. You just decide you want to go for a ride to Old Saybrook, and you just can either pull out your app and book it on your smartphone, or you can call us and book it by phone for people who either don't want to use their phone or aren't very comfortable using their smartphone. You can just call us. And that operates in all of Old Saybrook, most of Westbrook, and parts of Essex and Centerbrook. So it's a smaller service area, but it's kind of one of our busiest areas, our densest areas. And on average, the ride arrives within 13 minutes of your request time. So it arrives pretty quick, and it's a great way to travel in that smaller area. On demand when you want to ride, and not necessarily on the bus schedule. Absolutely. And then finally, we also have a taxi voucher program, and that's for seniors and people with disabilities, and that really is meant to fill the gaps of all of our other services. So, if there's somewhere you need to go that's further away, it could be anywhere in Connecticut that will take you. It's outside of our normal hours. It's on a day that we don't operate. Then this taxi voucher program covers half of the cost of a taxi trip, and we have access to both sedans and also wheelchair accessible vehicles, so anybody can use it. And as I said, it covers half of that cost. So it makes the cost of the taxi trip a lot more affordable. And it's great for the types of trips you might not do all the time, but have to do once in a while. What we see a lot of people use it for is doctor's appointments that are further away, a specialist visit that's outside of the area, or even just occasional trip home from work way outside of our hours. So, like I said, just kind of helps complete any gaps that may exist. And so, yeah, that's a quick summary of all of our services, which have really grown over the years and have gotten more diverse. And yeah, we probably have one of the biggest offerings of services of any transit district in the state of Connecticut.
Absolutely.
And we keep growing.
As a matter of fact, I actually took extra mile the other day. I had to go to Staples before work. Usually I would walk from Staples to work, but it started to rain. Would grab my phone. I was inside Staples. Booked everything. It was there within about 3 minutes.
Oh, that's great. Even better. Even better than 13.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And the great thing is if you use your smartphone, it works just like a ride-sharing service where you can see where the vehicle is. Right. You get an alert that it's on the way, so you know how long your wait's going to be. Right. So it's, it helps you keep you informed of when it's coming and makes that wait even shorter when you know exactly when the bus is coming.
Absolutely.
Right?
and it also does that on the app for the Dial-A-Ride program as well. When you book your rides on EcoLane, which is the app.
That's right. Yeah, we have lots of different technology available.
Yeah.
And we keep expanding it and growing it. And you're right. So now our Dial-A-Ride and ADA paratransit services both also have access to an app where you can get some of that same information. You can book right on the app, but it does have to be a day before. But you can also see where the bus is, get the estimated arrival times. You can even pay through the app. You can just attach a credit card now, so you don't have to pay cash every time you get on the bus, and it will just automatically charge your card when you board the bus.
Okay.
So we have a lot of different technology available. And kind of jumps to one of our other technologies is, I think you're familiar with it, is our Token Transit app that allows our users to pay their regular bus fare. Any bus fare can be paid right on their smartphone. So you don't have to use cash anymore or even a monthly pass. You can buy everything right on your smartphone, including monthly passes or single ride tickets or a day pass, or any type of our passes are available right on your smartphone. And it allows you just, when the bus is coming, just activate your ticket and just show it to the driver and board the bus, and it all just charges to a credit card. So you don't have to carry cash and worry about having the exact fare, which is something that's always a challenge, especially nowadays when we're all so used to not having a lot of cash on us, right? Even just a couple of dollars for bus fare, even just that $1.75 for bus fare, a lot of times we have no cash on us, right?
Exactly. Or you go to Stop and Shop and buy the little green tickets.
That's right. So it even eliminates having to make the trip to the store to buy passes or even monthly passes. And you can buy every one of our passes and then some. We even have some that are exclusively available in the app, like a day pass. They're all available right there in the app. And anyone who's buying for the first time, you get half off your first purchase. So it's a good time to try out a monthly pass when you can get one for half the regular price, which is normally $59. So it offers a really large discount for you to give it a try and try out that app and see how it works for you. But we have a lot of people who have now switched to that app, and really we get some great feedback on it. People really enjoy that.
Absolutely.
Like you said, not having to go to a local store or come to our office, or even order online and wait for it to come in the mail. It's a much quicker way to get your pass and be ready to go.
Absolutely. What else we got?
So we kind of jumped into fares. Our base fare is $1.75, and that's for any of our routes that I mentioned earlier. So those are just $1.75. If you are a senior or a person with a disability, you could ride it for just 85 cents. And you can either, to get access that fare, you either just have to show your Medicare card, or if you go to our website, there's a link to apply for there's a statewide half-fare ID card that can be used on any bus system in Connecticut and also on the train system. So Shoreline East, Metro North, it gives you access to their half-fare programs as well. So that's another, if you are a senior or person with disability, it's a great thing to have so that you could use any of the state's transportation systems at that reduced fare price.
Absolutely.
As you mentioned, we also have passes and tickets that are either available online, in the area Stop and Shops,
Right.
at our office, or in the mobile app that we mentioned earlier. So there's a lot of ways to buy those passes. They offer you a discount. For instance, our 10-ride pass is the cost of 9 trips. Our monthly pass is unlimited trips for an entire month for just $59. And if you are a senior or person with disabilities, it's only $31. So extremely discounted for seniors and people with disabilities. We also have a statewide program known as UPass.
Okay.
And UPass is with the state universities and community colleges. And all of our area ones do participate, and it allows students to get a pass that's good for the entire semester, and then lets them use all of the fixed-route services in the entire state and the rail systems in Connecticut up to the New York line with their UPass. And that's no cost to them. They just have to, each university has a central place that provides them, or maybe it's online. You just have to check with their university. But something that's already included for them. And they just have to pick it up, and they can use it with their student ID to ride anywhere in the state. So it's a tremendous value for them. And then also both Ninetown and Middletown this semester have a pilot with Wesleyan University. That Wesleyan students can just show their Wesleyan ID on any fixed route, and they could ride both the Ninetown Transit and Middletown Transit systems for free.
Cool.
So it's a great pilot program for them. Hoping that we can help make it easier for Wesleyan students to ride on the bus.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, we got exciting news coming up about Middletown with what's going on. But hold on a second, because we're about to go into a break. We'll be right back.
Smart TVs and streaming services have taken over the television industry. VSC TV is proud to announce our presence on Apple TV and Roku to make watching your favorite shows even easier. You can access this service by downloading the Cablecast ScreenWeave app. Then choose Valley Shore Community TV from the list of channels. Select VSC TV Live to watch our channel in full HD. Or pick a show from our on-demand video library. VSC TV is your local Connecticut Mid-Shore Valley digital connection.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Pete Mezzetti Show. I'm Pete Mezzetti, sitting here with Joe Comerford, who's the Executive Director of Ninetown Transit and Middletown Area Transit. Joe, welcome back.
Thanks, Pete.
Thanks. So, Joe, we were talking a little bit about, before the break, the Middletown Area Transit. And from what I understand, we've got some very exciting news regarding Middletown Area Transit. What do we got?
Yeah, so back in 2018, we, as part of our partnership with the Council of Governments, both the Middletown Transit District and Estuary Transit District, partnered on a study to look at the best way to provide public transit services throughout the county, Middlesex County.
Right.
And we also, as part of that, we also looked at all the services and to kind of see where they still meet the needs of the community, should they change.
Right.
And so back in early 2020, we got the results on the governance piece of it. How do we provide service? And what was recommended by the report was to combine the two transit districts and have one transit district for the entire county.
Gotcha.
Which, obviously in Connecticut, that's we don't really use counties much, but
Right.
so it's kind of a different concept in Connecticut, even though it kind of seems to make sense anywhere else, right? But in our county, certainly does make sense because people do travel within our county quite a bit.
Right.
Middletown for this area is the hub for medical services, the court system, for social services, and many different things. There are definitely reasons people need to travel in Middletown.
Absolutely.
So in this region, it definitely makes sense to be able to facilitate travel better throughout the entire county.
Right.
So we've spent the past now just about 18 months discussing between the two transit districts and the state of Connecticut exactly how that should happen. We have reached an agreement, and so all sides have agreed to move forward, and we're kind of just going through the final steps now.
All right.
We already share management between the two districts.
All right.
We share a lot of management staff between the two. Pretty much all of our management staff is now shared between the two districts. And again, all this is being done in an effort to have the staffing necessary to properly staff the districts and make sure we're spending money responsibly, following all the federal rules that come with our federal grants we receive.
Oh, yeah.
Which are significant. There's a lot of them. But to do it in a way that's financially responsible for the taxpayers of Connecticut and our region.
Right.
So, it's by doing this, we're averting a lot of future costs, both on operating and on the capital side. We also have potential to see some other efficiencies, like combining our dollar ride systems and potentially being able to reallocate some of those services to other types of service.
Right.
So to be able to reinvest and improve the services, as I said, another part of that study was looking at the services, and there were a lot of recommendations on how we can improve service and make it even better. Some of them don't cost money, some do. So this gives us some opportunity to reinvest in ourselves and continue to make a better, stronger transit system for all of Middlesex County.
Absolutely. Now, does Middletown Area Transit do like a dial-a-ride program, or do they just have the big city buses?
They do. Yep.
Do they?
Yes, they have
okay.
both dollar ride and ADA paratransit.
Okay.
Theirs is a little different, but we'll be working through those differences. That's kind of the next step is
Okay.
before we can make this, before we get to one system, there'll be lots of steps along the way.
Gotcha.
As I said, we've kind of already started with the back end side of things, having the administrative side the same, but there's a lot to do to get
Right.
the public view the same. Some of those are not very hard. Some of those are simple policies. Some are a little harder because of technology involved, like fare collection, having the same fare system. Should be super easy. It's not because of the fare collection technology that exists in their buses versus our buses.
Right.
So part of this will be doing a few different studies to figure out how to make all these things work the same and have eventually one system to the public. And that does include a new name at some point. We don't know what it is yet.
Okay.
It's one of the things we're going to study that we want the community to be involved in. It's not going to be something we just decide in the back office.
Roll out.
Yes. So there's a lot of these little things that will have to be done to make it all, again, one system in the end. So right now they still kind of operate as two entities under their existing rules and fare structure.
Yep.
But we will be taking steps again over the next 1.5 to 2 years to make them all the same and eventually get all the staff on one payroll, hopefully as close to one set of policies as possible, and get it all, again, one system to the public.
Now, how many staff members do you have in Ninetown Transit and how many in Middletown Area Transit?
Sure, so there's 26 at Ninetown Transit,
Yeah.
and there is, I think it's 23 in Middletown Transit.
All right. All right. So you're obviously between Middletown and Centerbrook.
Yes.
Correct?
Yep, I'm one of the several shared staff that kind of move between the two locations. So we do have two different offices, one in Middletown, one in Centerbrook. And we
I
kind
can
of
say,
work
I
out
know where
both.
you guys are in Centerbrook. I've been there many a times. Where are you in Middletown?
So we have an office in Middletown on North Main Street,
Okay.
and then we also have our passenger terminal right downtown Middletown.
I know where the
on
terminal
Main
is.
Street. So we have two different
Terminal's
offices.
by the courthouse, I believe.
That's right. Yeah,
Okay.
right next door to the courthouse.
Yep.
It's a excellent location.
It
right,
is.
right in the middle of downtown.
It is. Now, as far as what's going on with Ninetown Transit, you guys also have a couple of new personnel changes, a couple of new faces to the Ninetown Transit umbrella.
We do. Yeah, we have a lot quite a few new faces.
Okay.
As probably everywhere, the pandemic's definitely impacted staffing. Just saw a number of earlier than expected retirements,
Right.
which good for those
Good for them.
individuals. Yeah,
Exactly.
and it's brought in an opportunity to get some new people in.
Yep.
And it's definitely been some interesting times as we get new people, and then also new positions.
Right.
As I said earlier, instead of duplicating positions like we were before, we had 2 executive directors, 2 finance managers,
Right.
two of a lot of positions.
You're rolling it all into one.
We're going to have one that's shared, and then we're able to do something different with those other positions.
Oh, nice.
So again, to make sure we are complying better,
Right.
we're better capable of complying with federal rules on whether it be grants. HR, of course, is another big topic that's always a challenge to keep up with.
Oh, yeah.
So we're in the middle of hiring many other positions, again, to strengthen our administrative abilities, but to do it at a much more reasonable cost because we don't have to duplicate other positions.
Right. Now, as far as hours of operation of transportation, what are they?
Well, so depending on the service, they could be a little different.
Okay.
But in general, Nighttown Transit runs Monday through Friday from 6 a.m. until about 8 o'clock p.m.
Okay.
Saturdays from about 7:20 to about just before 7
Okay.
on Saturdays. Middletown Transit runs Monday through Friday from 6 a.m. until 11 p.m.
Wow.
And on Saturdays from 8 to 6.
Wow. I didn't know Middletown Area Transit ran that.
They
that
do.
Late. Wow.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And how did it work out when you guys, because I remember in the summer you guys were running on weekends when you guys were running to the parks.
We did.
How'd that
So
go?
we did have a quite large pilot program over the summer that was a partnership with DOT and Department of Environmental
Sure.
and Energy and Environmental Protection. And it was designed to improve access to the parks.
Right.
And Hammonasset was one of the parks that they chose for this pilot,
Right.
being their largest park and most heavily visited. And so we did extend a lot of service. It was about a 25% increase overall for us in service. So it was a major increase in service, both adding new routes like the Clinton Trolley
Yep.
and the Madison Shuttle, which connects the park to Madison, but also extending the hours of existing routes. And as you said, adding service on Sunday, which was big, and one of the things actually recommended in our study we did. And what we saw was that there certainly is a need for Sunday service,
Yeah.
which was not a surprise at all, but it was good to see that our study recommendation was proven true by this pilot. And so we're hoping that that's something that can be continued in the future. We're working with the state now on different ways to add service.
Right.
It's hard to say what will be added and what won't
Absolutely.
right now until we know from the state, but it definitely was a good opportunity, like I said, to kind of prove that there is a need for service on Sundays,
Oh, absolutely.
particularly in the Route 1 corridor. I mean, we all know what the Route 1 corridor is like. It's heavily retail and service sector jobs, which they need those individuals need to work on Sundays, and any people who aren't working on Sunday, they want to access those places on Sunday.
Absolutely.
So it's different times. It's not the early 80s when these services were designed, and
Exactly.
many things closed on Sunday. People do need to get around on Sundays, and
Absolutely.
that was well proven by our Park Connect service.
Absolutely. Speaking of getting around, let's go back to Extra Mile. I understand that there is a public hearing or public input regarding the Extra Mile program. What's going on?
Yeah, so again, the Extra Mile was launched as a pilot back in 2019,
Right.
and we launched as a fare-free pilot
Right.
to kind of just gauge how it performed.
going.
At that time, it was a very new type of service. We were one of very few places in the country doing it. It has since taken off and it's become a lot more common. But in Connecticut, we're still one of only 3 doing it.
Right.
Then we were looking at implementing a fare, then the pandemic hit, and we went fare-free on everything.
Yes.
And so it definitely changed our plans. But now with hopefully the worst of the pandemic behind us.
Right.
We're now looking at implementing a fair. So we will be holding fair hearings.
All right.
We don't have dates yet,
Okay.
but we'll be setting them probably next month.
All right.
And we hope that the community will comment on the fair proposals that we put forward,
Right.
and gauge, the public's reaction to potential fares on the service.
Absolutely. And if people want more information on Ninetown Transit and Middletown area transit, where can they go?
Sure, the best places are our websites.
Okay.
Ninetown Transit is the number 9towntransit.com.
Okay.
And Middletown Transit is middletownareatransit.org.
Okay.
So both websites have a lot of information. All of our routes, our schedules, our fares, applications for services like ADA paratransit,
Right.
the half fare program. They are all up there. You will also find information on the fair hearings we will be holding on the Ninetown Transit website.
Okay.
And we also have a newsletter you can subscribe to, and that we always are pushing stuff like that out. And you can also follow both agencies on Facebook.
Cool.
There's at Ninetown Transit and at Middletown Area Transit. So
Cool.
there's a lot of ways you can keep in touch with us and can always know what's going on.
Absolutely. Joe Comerford from Ninetown Transit, thanks for some time. We'll see you again soon.
Thanks for having me.
You got it. Thanks, Joe. On behalf of Joe Comerford, I'm Pete Mezzetti. Thanks. Good night, and we'll see you next time.